The saviours have arrived and we're begging them to save us from this bang average, mediocre season. Welcome back to Fog Entertainment, and we're going to continue the trend of small group time. We've got Daryl, we've got Sasha, we've got Abraham, and you know what? There's probably about an ounce of charisma between them.
Yeah, it is season 6 of The Walking Dead, episode 6. This one is called Always Accountable, and that's not something you can say about Rick's group. If a member of Rick's group does something, they get forgiven, you know. It doesn't matter. It slides underneath the carpet. But if somebody else does something, brother, then they've got to be held accountable. Speaking of being held accountable, I think the showrunners need to be held accountable because so far, season 6 has sucked. I've not enjoyed it. Looking back, I can't believe that I had season 6 on a similar level to season 5. When I first watched The Walking Dead, I didn't really think there was much difference between season 5 and season 6. After getting a second watch through, I am changing my mind big time. I think season 5 was way better than this. Easily for me, the worst season of The Walking Dead so far.
Can it be saved though? Can season 6 produce something? Can it Hail Mary?
No, because I just know that season 6 wasn't that good to begin with. And after how bad it started, I know that there's nothing that can happen in the last, 10 episodes to make this season better than anything that's happened before it. I mean, could the season overall improve? I mean, could I end season 6 thinking, you know what, it was actually a decent season? Yes. But I already know that this is my worst season so far out the first 6.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
I think most people would agree with that, to be honest. Now, we know there's some people on here on YouTube that think season 6 is the best season ever. But a lot of people, actually, see the more I look at it now, a lot of people tend to believe that after season 5, The Walking Dead kind of went down the toilet. And it's good to see that we're not alone in thinking that. I do think that season 4 and season 5 dropped off big time. But they were a lot better than this.
Yeah, I think you were led to believe that the Dwight introduction was almost like God tier by some people on the Y tube. But I mean, let's talk about it. Let's discuss it, because before we get to the Dwight introduction, we've got Daryl, Sasha, and Abraham driving out of nowhere. Gun-wielding assailants, also known as the Savior, start firing at them. Daryl crashes off his bike.
What's the chances of this? These people they're just driving along, and then they get shot at, they get split up, and Daryl gets separated from Sasha and Abraham. Like, what's the chances of them just driving along, trying to lure zombies, and then all of a sudden getting fired at? No explanation.
Quite incredible, but at this point, let's keep this tally in mind. I believe Sasha and Abraham killed 3 saviors, so the Alexandrians are 3-0 up. And it's going to get more.
Yeah.
It's going to get bigger.
That scoreline is going to increase. So, basically, Abraham and Sasha, they get separated. Instead of going home to Alexandria, I guess they decide to stay in like some apartments. You see them kind of moving in and out of buildings. They're talking as if they can't get back. They're talking as if this is their new life, just the two of them. I personally don't get it.
The best way of letting a tracker find you is staying put, Abraham.
Yeah, Sasha is so boring, and Abraham is like in season 6 going through a midlife crisis or something like that. I don't know what's happened to Abraham, but
I think he's blind.
On the specs. You know what? Did he ever fully recover from finding out the truth? I would say once he finds out that Eugene was lying to him, I think that's probably when we'd seen the best of Abraham.
Yeah, I
think the initial reaction was okay, but I think a couple of episodes after that, I think Abraham has went downhill big time.
I think Abraham at this stage of the game, until his his demise, I just think he's almost like he's lacking something. Like in his head, it seems like that reveal's actually like turned him brain dead.
I don't know, it's turned him into a walker or something.
He just seems like a gun for hire, with like no conscience of his own.
But previously, he was funny and charismatic, and he felt like a leader, and he had a backbone. And if Rick had said something, he'd have been disputing it. But now that I guess he found out that Eugene's lying, he's just transformed into another member of the Rick Kiss My Ass Club, and he's just there. He's just a big guy with a gun at the end of the day. He's not the Abraham Washington that I know.
See, we always wrap up though.
And I don't think his second name's Washington, but he was trying to get to
Ford.
He was trying to get to Washington, and his
Aye.
name's Abraham. So for me,
Was he driving a Ford?
so for me, they made a big mistake. This guy should have been called Abraham Washington.
Abraham Washington. Sounds like a president of the United States of America. But he finds a
Think
suit.
Joe Biden could think that far back.
Definitely not. But here, I mean, I tell you what, Abraham was dressed like a super predator here because he comes out with this suit on, just looking like a pure weirdo.
It just looked fucking retarded. It kind of reminded me of like the Resident Evil games when you complete them. Sometimes you unlock like a tuxedo or something, you know, for the main cat. Oh, you get to play as Leon Kennedy now in a tuxedo. That's kind of what this reminded me of. It's like,
And Sasha's just sitting there with her xenomorph dome.
why are we wasting time showing fucking Abraham going through people's wardrobes? I don't get it, man.
At least with Daryl, right? We're getting introduced to Dwight, Sherry and Co. and the Saviors. So I will forgive that, but what the fuck are these two?
Well, let's just wrap this up, okay? He finds a military zombie with a backpack on. He's hanging off this. He's been impaled. He's hanging off the edge. He's trying to get the backpack off the walker. The walker's reaching out at Abraham. Abraham screams in the walker's face. Roar! And the walker's screaming at Abraham. And then eventually the walker just rips open and falls. And the bag is left hanging from the spike that the walker was impaled through. So he takes the bag. The bag had a warhead in it, or what do you call it? Not a warhead.
An RPG. A warhead. I don't know. They're not carrying nuclear fucking missiles.
Nah, well, it had an RPG missile, and that was it, really. So he's got an RPG, and he's got 4 shells or whatnot, and he's got a bunch of cigars too. So he walks back to Sasha. He's proud of himself, and Sasha's just sitting there. I mean, not really caring. And he mentions the fact that she almost took his arm off that time. And yeah, that pissed me off that time where she was swinging wildly and like cut Abraham and nothing was done about it. Because you know, if it was a guy that was doing that, man, Abraham would have fucking stepped up and done something like.
No, he would have, and he talks up Sasha here as if she's something like great when she's not. He's like, "Oh, you're no bullshit, Sasha. I like you. I like your person." There's nothing to
Yeah,
her.
she's got no. And I'm not,
It's like a slice of toast
here,
with nothing on
and
it.
I'm not saying that Abraham should have get. I see toast with nothing on it. Like
That's what she is. So.
I like toast, right? But I think that toast is nice, and there's lots of things you can put on toast to make it nice. But toast without anything on it, I think it's just.
You may as well just eat bread.
I think I'd rather bread.
Yeah, it's softer.
Yeah, it just makes no sense to. Anyway, back to this episode. Yeah, I'm not saying that Abraham. When Sasha cut Abraham, right? Yeah, you could argue it was an accident, even though she was being reckless and shouldn't have been doing what she was doing, and they were trying to help her, or whatnot. So like, I get it. I'm not saying she done it on purpose, and I'm not saying that Abraham should have gave her the Eugene treatment and decked her like he did against with Eugene against the fire truck, but. I mean, it was almost like he was afraid to say anything just because of the fucking genders. I thought it was so dumb, man. It's so dumb. Walking Dead.
No, it is.
TV shows in general.
It's incredibly dumb in parts, but I mean, that is pretty much these two wrapped up until the end of the episode. So let's get to the Daryl, right? Crashes his bike. There's this shot where it, like, over bird's eye view, he's lying beside this burnt walker with, like, a helmet on. We've seen this all before, though, with Daryl, haven't we?
Yeah, nothing interesting. He gets up, he hides his bike, he bumps into 3 people. 3 people. Dwight, Shelley, and Shelley's sister, I believe.
Sherry, not Shelley.
Shelley.
Shelley on a kebab.
Who gives a shit? Yeah, so we bump into them. Daryl is like, right, okay. That's it, really. Not a lot happening here. They've got Daryl at gunpoint because why not? They don't really trust Daryl. Dwight knocked him out. So they don't want to kill him, but they're bringing him along. They think that he is from the group, the Saviors. They've obviously escaped from the Saviors. They think the Saviors are crazy, and they think that Daryl could be from a different outpost coming to get them. And the fact that they haven't killed Daryl here, maybe that says something for Dwight, that he's maybe not a horrible person or a bad person, because I mean, if the roles are reversed here, I mean, if this is someone in Rick's group and they're against an enemy or trying to escape from an enemy, they'd have just shot them dead.
No, they probably would have, and you touched on it as well. Like
but wait, does it mean that Dwight's not a bad person, or is it just fucking plot armor to keep Darrow alive?
It's plot armor to keep Darrow alive, right? But two things. This doesn't feel like the Saviours, this group, by the way, right? And also, Dwight, you're led to believe that this guy's like one of Negan's like right-hand men. Like one of his lieutenants. And like, why is he running he feels like a fucking jobber at this stage.
Now, I don't know if he becomes one of Negan's right-hand men later on, but it's like, I mean, I don't know. It sounds like he wasn't there a long period of time. So how did he rise up to be Negan's right hand? Or...
Yeah, but let's just say for this point of view, right? He's left. He's betrayed the Saviours because he's fleeing and taking 2 women with him, right? Who are probably, well, Sherry's definitely married to Negan, right? How can he return to Negan, the Saviours, and then by the time he returns at the end of this season, he's standing there like he's the man next to bloody Stephen Ugg?
We need some sort of big time skip, I believe. But yeah, we then see this group of people coming. Wow, what's this? Oh, it's the Saviours. So Dwight and that, they're panicking. Darrow's like, you know what? I can help you. So they do get into like a scuffle. Darrow previously managed to run away. But basically, Darrow and Dwight, they come together to work against the Saviours. We see some Saviour guy get pulled in against a tree by one walker and he gets bit in the arm. Just pathetic. Yeah, it reminded me of that guy in the first episode. What's his name? Alexandria.
I can't remember.
The guy that was trying to revolt against Rick Uprise.
And yet it wasn't the worst bite of the episode, because let's talk about Tina, Sherry's sister, right? They find this...
Well, let's finish what we're talking about here.
Let's finish the Saviour's bit then.
So the guy gets bit and then he cuts his arm off and they just walk away, but it was really dumb the way they bit him.
He said, oh, it's just a scratch as well, as if he hasn't cut off the guy's entire arm.
And I don't know if it looked like, from what I seen, I don't know if it's like an editing error or whatnot, but it looked like they cut the arm below the bite. That's what I seen. Now, maybe I need to rewatch. I don't plan on rewatching it, but initially when I seen it, it looked like they cut the arm off above the bite, which is obviously not going to do nothing.
No, obviously not. I mean, it defeats the purpose. I mean, you would have to cut it again, which is just agony for the person that you've, chopped the arm off of. But maybe it is editing, because of course it's CGI. So maybe they fucked up that way.
Not a lot really happened. The group kind of just left.
Yeah, we didn't see any of their faces. It was like from nipple level down. Shout out to Gunther.
I thought we were going to get some sort of shootout here, but we didn't really get that. We got nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. They want to introduce the Saviours, but not give you too much. I get that, but it was just weird, the introduction, like the blue truck arriving, like it was Jeepers Creepers or something. But right, let's talk about the worst part of this episode for me. So we've got Sherry's sister Tina putting down flowers in a greenhouse, because apparently they used to know these people. She puts the flowers down.
I believe it was her grandparents.
So obviously they're residents of this area then. And just found out her grandparents died.
Something like that.
And then she puts the flowers down, with no one around her, and then they just bite her. And then like it just cuts to the next scene of Dwight and Darryl burying her. It's like what are we do? This all happened in like 15 seconds.
Yeah, I don't get it.
This death did nothing. Obviously, it's just easier to sell Dwight and Sherry as like a package deal, I think, than the tag-along sister that requires insulin shots because of diabetes.
Yeah, so she's dead. They bury her. Darrow then says to Dwight, how many people walkers have you killed? I was like, Dwight's like maybe like a dozen, 2 dozen. How many people have you killed? Says none. Darrow asks him why, and then Dwight says, because once you do that, you can't go back. So Dwight, at this point, he doesn't seem like a bad guy, and I get it. When Rick's group was up against the Saviours, you're supposed to believe that the Saviours are awful people. But Dwight here, according to himself, hasn't killed anybody. And you would have to sort of believe him, because Dwight and Sherry then turn on Darrow after he offers to take them back to his group. But they do it just because they want to get his bike and they want to be able to get as far away from Negan and the Saviours as possible. But, they take Darrow's weapon, they take his bike, but they don't kill him, and they could have. So yeah, at this point, Dwight just doesn't seem like this evil person that should be right beside, or bad person that should be right beside Negan. Like, doesn't Negan order his men to kill people if necessary? Dwight just doesn't seem like that kind of guy right here.
No, I don't think he was lying. I think he hasn't probably killed anyone at this stage of the game, but it doesn't stop him from. It's his best bet not actually going to Alexandria, this big group that Daryl. I know, future behold, it doesn't end too well, but does he really think he was ever going to get far on this bike?
I just want to know what happens between Dwight at this point saying that he's never killed anybody, because once you kill somebody, you can't go back, to just like straight up murdering people. Like, I wonder if it was Negan burning his face that just turned him into a savage. I don't know.
Maybe that would do it for most people, but the ride off, as Daryl says, he's going to be sorry. Daryl then finds a fuel truck, he kills a guy called Patty, and then the scene just like cuts to him picking up Abraham and Sasha as they smile in the distance, and it's almost like they had to just rush this bit, because none of the three of them have got any interesting fucking lines of dialogue to say to each other. It's just a mix match, isn't it, man? It's a mismatch. It's a fucking disaster, these three.
And then Daryl from nowhere manages to find Abraham and Sasha. He's a tracker. So what, if Daryl's a tracker, see, why weren't people before the zombie apocalypse, why weren't people like hiring this guy to find their missing children? Why didn't this guy find Madeline McCann? Like, if he's so good at fucking, but you know what I mean? Like, yeah, maybe if you're out in the woods, right?
In the woods,
you can argue, you can see footprints or whatnot, or you can see drops of blood on the trees. But how did this guy go from where he was and manage to actually go into like that rural area or whatever, or like it looked like not like a town or something, and actually manage to find out what building Sasha and Abraham were in?
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous.
It's not like they left fucking signs saying, yo, Daryl this way, or arrows pointing this way.
No, Daryl's tracking went out the windy for me in season 2 when he's like, oh, it looked like Shane and Randall were walking in tandem. It's like, what? Is he fucking drinking the right Kool-Aid? How is he figuring all that stuff out? It's one thing being able to track footprints, but he's like, oh, here, they were walking in tandem the entire way up this path.
Yeah.
Not tandem. Why couldn't one set of footprints have been like from like half an hour ago, and one be from? No, come on, no. That was just to paint evil Shane as the fucking evil bastard.
And are we supposed to believe that Daryl is like so intelligent he can tell footprints that are like maybe 20 minutes older than other footprints? I mean,
and if that's the case, how didn't he find Sophia? By the way, you can't be overpowered by being able to tell that Shane was working with Randall and then he killed him, but you can't track Sophia.
Yeah, that's what I don't get. Like, see if Daryl. Like, see the way they've just made Daryl out to be like the best tracker of all time. It's like, well, how come this guy didn't go in season 2? Here, there's 2 sets of footprints. There's a wee set of girl footprints and a big fat bastard set of footprints. I wonder if that fat guy put her in the barn. Should he not have tracked the footprints to the barn?
Well, there you go.
Why not? He fucking tracks footprints everywhere else. Anyway, I would put my foot up this episode's arse. I thought it was another poor episode. I said episode 5 was the worst episode so far of season 6. This one, in my opinion, is right up there. Was it worse though? I don't think so. I mean, I think the Dwight and Sherry introduction gave you something. At least we got a new character in there, new characters. But it wasn't. I mean, I'll get a 4 out of 10, and I feel like that's generous.
I'll give it a 4 out of 10 as well. I think it was better than the last episode because something actually happened. The Abraham and Sasha stuff was probably the worst thing if you combined the episodes.
What would you give our English in this review, by the way?
It'd still be higher than the rating.
It's been all over the place. I'll admit it.
Sure,
We give it 4 out of 10.
4 out of 10. Yeah. As much as I think the Tina death was awful and the guy getting his arm cut off was awful, at least it's something new. It's something fresh. It's the introduction of like a new antagonist and group. And I don't think Daryl was horrendous. He's been worse. But yeah, his tracking for me is just fucking ridiculous. Anyway, 4 out of 10. Till next time. Peace.